One of the good things that's coming out of the great pandemic of 2020 is that a lot of people are discovering or rediscovering the joy of jigsaw puzzles. And I am an administrator for a Facebook group, Jigsaw Puzzlers. We have over 15,000 members. And there is a conversation that comes up over and over again, especially from new puzzlers, which is how do you store your puzzle as you are making it? Not just once it's done, but if your puzzle takes more than one session to complete, where do you put it? Because maybe you have the luxury of having a dedicated room just for your puzzles to stay there on your beautiful table, and you can lock the room so the kids and pets and spouses don't mess up with your puzzle. But for most of us, that is not an option. So in this video, I'm going to show you some options. I'm going to show you the 3 most common options in the hobby of where you store your puzzle between sessions as your puzzle is in progress. We're going to talk about the roll-up mat, the Porta Puzzle, and the homemade Porta Puzzle. One warning is that there is no single system which is perfect, and to me a perfect system would be one that is inexpensive, easy to use, holds your pieces perfectly in position, and doesn't take up a lot of space when you store it wherever it is that you store it. If you know such a system, let me know, because I like that. I like to know about it, but I'm not aware of any such system. The systems that I'm going to show you all have pluses and minuses, so the point is see which one works best for you, which one in your situation has the most pluses and the least minuses. We are going to start with the much controversial, apparently, from the discussions I see online, roll-up mat, which is a fairly old system. It was already around back in the day. In my days, in the early 2000s, the roll-up mat used to have a cylinder of sturdy cardboard. The roll-up mats that you see these days have inflatable cores. The idea is still the same, that you have a salami at the center, and then you have a large piece of felt that will be unrolled. You do your puzzle on it, and when it's time to put away the puzzle, then you roll that felt around the salami here, and then you use bands to hold the pieces in position. There are rumors that go around this. There are urban legends. One thing is the roll-up mat is going to warp your pieces. How could it not? It doesn't. I have 3 roll-up mats. I like them very much. I've used them all the time. I can't imagine how many thousands of pieces have been stored in the system at my house, and not a single one was ever warped. Nor was a single piece ever lost. As long as all of your pieces are within the 2 bands that you see here, you're gonna be fine. Even if this flap moves a little bit like this, it looks loose, not a problem, because really all the pieces are, well, I don't store the puzzle next to the edge, just say the pieces are here and here, really, within folds, within other folds, and so they are safe. Now let's take a closer look and see what the roll-up mats look like once you open it. To show how the mat works, I'm using Coral Reef by Charlie Harper by Pomegranate. I would say I solved about half of it. I solved the frame and then most or all of the yellow area, plus some other areas here. Also, I left a couple of pieces loose in there to see, well, what happens. So, here's the mat. Of course, to open it, we remove the bands. And then we start unrolling it. There you go. There you go. As you can see, no pieces are warped, ruined, lost. The only thing that happens, some of these pieces move around a little bit. The way I put them, they were all sort of perpendicular in a grid, precisely so that then I could see if some will move around. I mean, I wanted to show you that I already knew that they would. But the parts that you connect will stay in place, no damage, nothing. So, the rumors you have heard about the roll-up mat are partially untrue. It is an efficient system. Now, mind you, the horror! These 2 pieces came undone. Oh my goodness. Any other similar horrific things? No, not so much. So when you unroll the roll-up mat, there may be some pieces that if you had sorted them perfectly, they will be they will move around a little bit. Some pieces that you connect, especially if it's a single strip, eventually if you store the puzzle after you did just the edges, then some of those pieces also may come undone. And as you can see, the fix is not that hard. Pomegranate has a really good fit, a really good grip, so it's particularly good for puzzles that you're solving on the mat. Other puzzles, say Eurographics, New York Company, other companies, the fit is not as strong, and so more pieces will come undone. But again, I've used this mat, I don't know how many times. There was never a time where I had to spend more than 2-3 minutes readjusting things. So these are, of course, the pluses and the minuses. The only minus I can think of really is sometimes the pieces are not exactly where you found them, and sometimes you have to redo 3, 4, 10 pieces stops, but they're still close to where they were originally. Advantages: once you roll it up, it doesn't take a lot of space. You can store it, the way I store it is on top of a closet. Other advantage, the roll-up mat is pretty inexpensive because you can find one for less than $20. Also is very, of course it's obvious if you're solving a puzzle which is landscape format, so longer than taller, is very obvious. But if you have a puzzle like this one, which has this proportion here, then it's very easy to solve it this way, because then the flap of the mat will simply be there pretending to be, you know, like the edges of a tablecloth. So very convenient that way. These are the pluses and the minuses of the roll-up mat. The next option we are going to explore today is the Porta Puzzle, which I think is a little bit of an unfortunate name, really. It is a storage unit that is fairly expensive. It is the most expensive option we look at today. And this is one of the minuses. Usually you can find one for $60, $80, $100. The price also depends on the size. This is the largest Porta Puzzle that there is, which is for 1,500 pieces puzzles. So it's going to be more expensive. What you have here is a storage unit that has straps that you use to close it and make sure the pieces stay in. And then you open it like so, and you will find 2 trays that are nice. And I put some pieces here in the shape of a P and a Z for puzzle for an experiment that we're going to do in a little bit. And then you move the trays, and then you have the main solving area where you can solve your puzzle. And this is Niagara by Frederick Church, published by Pomegranate. It's a really cool looking unit, no doubt. It's nice that you have your sorting trays that you can move around. That's neat. Here you have a nice velvety surface. The pieces slide around easily. So it's great. What's to complain about? Well, one thing is that when I use it and I have puzzles like this that have a vertical format, actually I end up solving them sideways, because you have these lateral flaps here that are sturdy as opposed to the roll-up mat. And so when you turn it around, well, you can let one fall from the table, but that doesn't really work, because where you're going to put your legs, you can fold them. Actually, you can fold them underneath. It works that way to then orient the puzzle vertically. But sometimes when I have a lot of pieces out and I'm maneuvering to fold those things, I get worried. I start worrying that I'm gonna tip the puzzle, pieces are gonna fall. It can get a little awkward. So the easiest thing for me is to solve puzzles sideways here, which I still do and I still enjoy. That's how I solved this one, but that may not be for everybody. However, one big selling point for me when I decided to acquire it is because it heard somewhere, I don't know if it was the advertisement or other people, that the great thing is that you can store the Porta Puzzle vertically. Once you have the puzzle there and you put the trays in position and you close it with the straps that I showed you, the pieces will stay in position. These pieces will stay here, these pieces will stay here, the pieces of the puzzle, the section you've solved, will stay where they are. And that seemed great. Wow, I can not just store the puzzle, but also store the sorting that I did, which I can't really do, or not as effectively as advertised, with the roll-up mat. So what we're gonna do now is to see if that works, if that is true. Because if it works and it's true, then this Porta Puzzle here, which is pretty large, is very easy to store. I can put it vertically behind the couch, which was my intention originally. So let's see how it works. Let's see what happens when you do place the Porta Puzzle vertically. So here I have the Porta Puzzle. I'm just gonna put it vertically, standing next to the table that I'm using here, simulating what it would be if I stored it behind my couch. Okay, let's see what happened. Drum roll. And here you go. As you can see, you can definitely see the original shape, but we lost some pieces. And I would say this was a pretty lucky one. Sometimes when I used it in the past, there was a lot more mess. In terms of storing your sorting, I don't find the Porta Puzzle a lot more efficient than the roll-up mat. I think you lose more or less the same degree of organization, or not a lot less, for, well, a considerable amount of money. The solved puzzle, the entirely solved puzzle stayed, well, it did move down a little bit, but it stayed together. When I sometimes try to store a partially solved puzzle, then I lost part of the progress, same idea as I lost part of the sorting. So in terms of holding the pieces where they should be, if you store it vertically, is not a great improvement from the roll-up mat, but you're spending a lot more money. So what I do actually, I store my Porta Puzzle horizontally, which requires a little bit of space. So instead of being behind the couch, it goes under the couch, which still works. But it's not just as great as I expected. Really, to me, the best thing that I like the most about the Porta Puzzle is I think of it as a portable table. So when I go outside and I do puzzling in my backyard, then I can carry this one, put it on the grass, sit on the floor, drink a cocktail, do puzzling, and then I bring it inside. But my Porta Puzzle, with the exception of the experiment you saw, usually stays horizontal because I like to have these two large sorting trays, but they don't work as well as sorting trays if you put them vertical. And then we get to what I call the homemade Porta Puzzle, because it has the same functionalities as the professional Porta Puzzle, but you can assemble it very, very cheaply. It's the most inexpensive option they can think of. And it is poster boards, as simple as that. Two poster boards held together by some clips. You use one poster board as the surface that you solve your puzzle on, and one you put on top to protect your progress. You lock them together and you're good to go. I use these clips and the whole thing cost me probably less than $5. Another solution that I've seen some people using is Swimple noodles. So you take those and then you cut them to the length of the edges of your puzzle, or two of the edges. You choose the long or the short. And then you also put a cut in it along the length of the noodle, so it becomes a sort of like a Pac-Man kind of thing. And then you use the Pac-Man to hug or to bite together the two poster boards to keep them in position. As simple as that. If you're storing it horizontally, the only thing, it looks less pretty in the Porta Puzzle, but it has pretty much the same functionality as the Porta Puzzle. You can have multiple poster boards, make a big sandwich, and then you have your surface and your sorting trays and a cover on top. Recently there was a big sale in a local art store that was closing, and I bought this thing, which is one of these big folders that artists use to carry around their masterpieces, and basically I use it as the to carry around my homemade Porta Puzzles. I found it on sale. These big folders actually can be expensive if you're gonna get the poster boards and that folder. Unless you find a sale, you may end up spending more or less like a Porta Puzzle, so you may as well go for that one. But if you find a sale, then you can make your own Porta Puzzle that looks just as pretty and as professional as the Porta Puzzle, and actually I can probably store 3 or 4 of these things. The question, however, of course, remains. If you store puzzles this way, vertically, which is the most convenient way, because it doesn't take up a lot of space, will the pieces stay where they're supposed to? To do that experiment, again, I put some pieces of a puzzle here in the shape of a P, so that we can see if they move around or not after I do this. Let's see what happened. So here we go. Of course, we need to lift the one on top carefully. If your enthusiasm for puzzles makes you wanna just throw it in the air while you're singing and dancing, that would probably cause you to lose some pieces, or at least to move them more than you like. But if you're careful, you should be fine. And you love puzzles, so you are a careful person. You have an attention for detail. So this is how it goes. And I would say you can definitely still see the shape of the P, and this part here and this part here, what used to be this part of the P, moved around. So, like pretty much like the professional Porta Puzzle and the roll-up mat, you can count on most of your sorting to be preserved and some of the sorting to get lost. You may expect to have to redo a little bit of readjusting at the end. But we saw that pretty much you have to do with everything. So in conclusion, we have the homemade Porta Puzzle, which is the cheapest option and works just as well as a professional Porta Puzzle. Same pluses, same minuses. If you store it horizontally, it works perfectly. Vertically, you have to fix things a little bit. The only minus that the Porta Puzzle doesn't have is that the homemade version doesn't look as pretty. But that's really the only difference. The roll-up mat, I like very much. It doesn't take up a lot of space when it's all rolled up. You have to do a little bit of readjusting after you use it, but that you have to do also with the other two systems if you store them vertically, and it's a little more expensive than the homemade, but still less than the official Porta Puzzle. The official Porta Puzzle looks very professional, but alas, it is also very expensive, and it is still not a perfect system to store vertically, so it still takes up space when you are storing it horizontally. It works very well as an outdoors portable table, and in that sense it works better than the homemade because it's heavier, and so the wind is not gonna make your official Porta Puzzle fly away. These are the pluses and minuses. These are the systems that actually I use them all, just depending on the puzzle, on the situation. Let me know what your favorite storage system is for your puzzle in progress. Let me know if you have other systems that I don't know. I'll be happy to learn about it. But most importantly, keep puzzling and enjoy your puzzling because it's a great hobby. Happy puzzling, everybody.